Good afternoon, councillors, members of the public, officers, welcome along. I declare this meeting open. Under announcements, we had the annual electors meeting last Tuesday and there were a number of motions that were received. They will be considered by council at its next meeting in January. Declarations of interest. Councillor Steck also declares a proximity interest with respect to item 10.53 and 10.51. Further declarations of interest, councillors? Thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, so I'm prepared to move that. Councillor Cook, second up. Councillor McGuinness, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. We also have the Heritage Advisory Committee minutes to note, so I'm prepared to move that. Councillor Kelly, seconder. Councillor Steele, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Are there any petitions? We have a request for a deputation from TCON with respect to item 10.41. Mr Fitzgerald, those who consent to that, please indicate. That's approved, thank you. Method for dealing with the tonight's agenda, councillors. Coming out for discussion are items 10.11, 10.21, 10.32, 10.41, 10.51, 10.53. Are there any others? Councillor McCleary. 10.31, please. Any others? So I'm prepared to move the balance be adopted. Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor McGuinness, all in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.11. There's executive recommendation and committee recommendation. So I'm prepared to move the executive recommendation. I think they're very similar, actually. Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Second to Councillor Steck. Councillor McCleary. No, Councillor Steck. I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.21 requires an absolute majority, so I'm prepared to move that. Thank you, Councillor Cook. Second to Councillor Hayward. All in favour, please indicate. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.31, so I'm prepared to move the executive recommendation. Thank you. We'll just get a mover for the executive recommendation. You can move an amendment later. So I'm prepared to move it. Thank you, Councillor Cook. Second to Councillor McGuinness. Councillor Cook.
Just to say that, councillors, I'd like you to vote in the affirmative for this item. I intend to join the delegation, but I will fully fund it myself. Thank you.
Councillor McGuinness, do you have any comments? Councillor McCleary, did you want to move an amendment?
Yes, please. Only to add in there that the IRC chairperson or city councillor also be invited to go, added into that. I personally would like to see the chief executive officer removed because Gary, the mayor is going, and having been a previous CEO, would have all the knowledge that's required. And I believe that the Setagaya.
Yes, Councillor Cook.
Requires a seconder.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please, Mr.
No,
Mayor?
Councillor McGuinness, I'm the chair today. Councillor McCleary, I beg your pardon. Just to clarify, have you given your amendment to Jamie?
No, sir.
No, just run us through that again. Just your amendment.
I'll make it easy. That the council approved the attendance of Mayor Gary Brennan, the IRC chairperson or city councillor, and Senior Officer International Relations at the official 25-year celebration in Setagaya, Japan in early May 2018. as well as a visit to Jiaxing, China, either before or after Sedigo visit.
So your amendment is to remove the Chief Executive Officer and replace it with the Chairman of that committee.
Correct, sir, or a councillor if
Okay,
that
take us-
chairman's not
thank you.
unable to go.
Thank you. I'll just wait for Jamie to get that down, and I'll seek a seconder to that amendment. Okay. Is there a seconder?
Sorry, can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
The question is, I think that's probably a good idea, but I would think in addition to the CEO, and is that possible, or will we let this amendment?
We will deal with this amendment. Councillor McGuinness, is there a seconder to that? Councillor Steele. Councillor McCleary?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Only to say that the mayor that will be going is quite skilled at CEO business and would not need anybody there to assist in any way. And the Setagaya and the councillors, we have a relationship going with council as well, and I think having a councillor there when we already have you almost as a duplicate, if you like, proxy CEO, would be an advantage financially. And to have the senior officer international relations going would be wonderful also, because that person is always in contact with Japan and our embassies, and I believe that that would be a really good mix at the same cost as it's already written here at $10,000. Thank you.
Councillor Steele?
No.
Speaker against? I'll put that amendment. All in favour? Those against? That's carried. Councillor McGuinness, did you wish to move a further amendment?
No, Mr Mayor, I think that maybe we can have a talk about it another time if we feel we need to change it, could we bring it back at a later date?
Okay, we move on. 10.3.2 requires an absolute majority. Someone prepared to move that? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Seconder, Councillor Kelly. Point of order.
Just wondering whether we voted on the substantive motion for the previous matter.
I beg your pardon, you're quite right. Is that what you're going to tell me, Mr Acting CEO?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Okay, so the amendment becomes a substantive motion. All those in favour, please indicate. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We have Councillor Smith, Councillor Kelly. Is there any need for debate on this? I'll put it all in favour. Those against? It's carried. Ten for one, Mr Fitzgerald.
Good evening, councillors. Mr Mayor, thank you very much. My name's Gary Fitzgerald, Director of TechOn Australia, and I'm representing Mr Aldo De Paoli, the owner and operator of National Lubrication Systems. Firstly, can I give Mr De Paoli's apologies for not being here. Unfortunately, he was called away up north on hopefully will be a number of significant projects which have a relationship to the expansion that we're talking about tonight. But he does give his apologies for not being here this evening. Mr De Paoli was also keen for me to ensure that I noted to council his appreciation for the way in which council staff have assisted him and as he has progressed this proposed development. He would like to formally note to council his support for the recommendation presented. Councillors, I don't want to take up much of your time because the recommendation is there and we support it, and hopefully that'll go straight through. I really just wanted to reinforce essentially what were the key elements and the reasons as to why we would put this up. So hopefully if there was any doubt, we could reinforce with you the importance of it. So as you probably know, and I'm sure as you've read, NLS is a locally owned business, a fast developing business, employs currently 15 to 20 people. And that's hopefully going to grow with this new business that's associated with the technology and the improvements within Mr De Paoli's current business. It's a unique business in as much that it deals with highly technical calibrated equipment that I know nothing about, but Certainly what it is associated with is with the mining, lubrication and pumps and the whole lot. But the important bit, councillors, which I certainly understand and which is important, is that it requires a highly consistent power source. The advantage, or not the advantage, but in Mr Tapali's current business, he has effectively a transformer on site, not like you'd see it anywhere else. It's basically a bit of a unique situation, and this is the reason that he's saying, well, look, I need to stay where I am and I need to expand as far as what I can within the existing operations because of this unique situation. For him to get a power station, a transformer or similar power source on another site, A, would be extremely expensive, B, would probably be very difficult under the current arrangements. He may not even get it. So essentially he's tied to the existing site, and he would ask council to explore the officer's recommendation, or support, should I say, not to explore, the officer's recommendation of supporting the development. So councillors, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, other than certainly happy to answer any questions, and just to reinforce with you that we'd respectfully request that you support the recommendation as presented by your officers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm prepared to move that. Councillor McGuinness, seconded Councillor Hayward. Any debate, councillors? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.5.1. Thanks, Councillor Stick. Someone prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor Cook, second up. Councillor McGrell, any debate? I'll put it all in favour. That's carried unanimously, thank you. We'll deal with 10.5.3. So I'm prepared to move that. Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Hayward. Councillor McCleary. Councillor Hayward. Any speakers against? I'll put it all in favour. Oh, sorry, Councillor Smith.
I wish to speak against this motion. Not that I don't think that this needs to be dealt with in the future, but incrementally over the years there's been little changes made along and to make it even more difficult for people to get to this side of town, and I just think that's another issue that's adding to the difficulty to get help. Certainly we need a solution in the long term, but I think we need to find that first. Thank you.
Speaker 4. Councillor McCleary to close. I'll put it all in favour, please indicate. Those against? That's carried, thank you. Someone prepared to go and ask Councillor Stick to rejoin us, thank you. We're dealing with item 12. Councillor Kelly, you're moving that. Is there a seconder? Councillor Steele. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, if I may, Mr Mayor, it'll be fairly straightforward and quick. Just looking at the motion as it was in 2011, there was only myself, Councillor Steck and Councillor Steele present, and I think that there's a lesson to be learned about looking back in the past is that if we forget about it, we're condemned to repeat it. And I think bring Councillors' attention to the intent of the original motion, which was to establish an acceptable method and structure guided by an administrative policy to ensure that we spent the money correctly and not in an ad hoc way. I've learned a lesson in as far as that if you do not put that into a substantive motion, then it often gets overlooked. The substantive motion back in 4711, which is the council decision, did allude to a committee of council which I don't think was the intent at the time. I think it should have been a small C committee, that is a group led by the Mayor to make sure that the fund was administered properly. But more importantly, what was missing from 1 to 4 was the administrative policy, and I think that'll be a simple policy. I had a quick chat to Mr Galinsky, who said that it was pretty straightforward in context of what the policy committee does. So just to clean this one up from 2011, ask councillors to support the recommendation that the Policy Review and Development Committee develop a policy that guides the collection, accrual and distribution of funds by the City of Bunbury Disaster Relief Fund. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Steele. Speaker against? Or put it all in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 14, someone prepared to move?
Sorry, sir, I've got a question on 13.2, questions from members. I just, from the information that was circulated to the councillors...
Sorry, Councillor Steck, just take a sec. Have we received notice of Councillor Steck's intent to ask a question?
No, sir, because the question relates to an article in the newspaper today which was referenced by you in relation to, which is completely against the information that has been circulated to councillors on motions from electors, being that the City of Bunbury convenes a reference group to develop recommendations that will lead to the basketball courts at the Southwest Sports Centre. That wasn't in the article today from you, sir. If we were talking about going
Sorry,
to Eton,
Councillor Steck, what
so
is
I
your...
wanted to know why.
Just take a seat. Can I ask Mr Galinsky just to refer the council to standing orders regarding questions from members at council meetings? Through you, Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Clarify this.
Just take a seat, Councillor Steck. I'll wait on the advice from our officers.
I could ask the question, sir.
I've asked the officers.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So, Standing Order 711, which relates to questions by members, states that members may ask questions relating to an item on the notice paper or on matters relating to the good government of persons in the district. The subsequent subclauses there effectively refer to I guess the responses around those, around any questions that might be asked. So I think 711 is, I guess, pertains most closely to the question that you're asking.
Thank you. So what is your question, Councillor Steck?
Well, sir, my question goes to the image of council, sir, in good governance, when you are promoting something in the newspaper that council hasn't even made a decision on yet, and the minutes from the special electors are coming back to council in January, and we haven't made a decision on that.
What's your question?
But my question is, why would it that you would make a decision on behalf of council to say that the basketball courts are going to Eton?
That's your question?
Yes, sir, and a follow-up question is that you've already engaged with that, saying that work in the background has already been occurring. Well, councillors haven't been doing any of that work.
Councillor Steck, just for the record of accuracy, I'll just ask Jamie to get your question down succinctly. So, Jamie, can you do your best with that? Mr Galinsky, do you want to give her a hand? Yeah, one more time, please, Councillor Steck, just the question.
Well, I don't know if the verbatim is exactly accurate to what I asked in the previous one, but I will attempt to get it right.
Good.
My question is that why is it that there has been promotion from the Mayor to indicate that there has been a decision from Council to move the basketball courts to Eton when Council has not formally addressed this matter? It has not formally addressed the matter in terms of the circulated minutes from the electors' meeting, and that is to formulate a working group or a reference group. And further question to that would be, why is there an indication in the article that there has been works pertaining to moving or consultations with Eton Council to moving the basketball courts to Eton, when Council itself has not given a directive for staff to do that, particularly since it's a matter on the community electors meeting? And given further, sir, if I could ask a supplementary question with your indulgence, sir, and that would be given that the list of, I guess, indications of which you would like councillors to work on various topics around the council and community and, up and coming, emerging matters and issues within the city, why isn't the basketball courts one of them, or sporting facilities one of them? I mean, I have also previously asked, sir, in this chamber previously, for an overview of all sporting facilities within our city, and my reply was we would get a desktop one.
Thank you, Councillor Steck. So those, Councillor Steck, are you happy with the accuracy of your 3 questions as printed on the on your screen there?
And it just needs to be, why wasn't a sporting basketball and sporting facilities not one of them in the 3rd question in the bottom line there, sir? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff.
Very good. I'll take that on notice. Thank you, Councillor Steck. We move on to item 14. Can I have someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Hayward, all in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, I remind you we are in open session here and we are discussing the CEO's contracting KPIs. The draft contract was circulated by email yesterday following the review panel's final meeting. I hope that everybody's had a chance to access that. Can I have someone move the recommendation from the performance review panel? You may.
May we go behind closed doors? May I have a motion?
You're moving that we go behind
Yes,
closed
please.
doors. Is there a seconder? Councillor McGuinness, all in favour? Those against? That's carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving behind closed doors. Thank you very much. We'll resume shortly.